Difficult Question program is on the air. Our guest is the chairman of Public Union for Anti-Mine Campaign, Hafiz Safikhanov. Welcome to our studio. Thank you. Today's theme is connected with cluster munitions. On 1st August, International Convention on Cluster Munitions came into force. 37 states joined this convention. The ruling states of the world like USA, Russia, Israel, Turkey, and states of South Caucasus didn't join this convention. Our first question is public. How many victims of mine are there in Azerbaijan? How are their social conditions protected? Does their benefits satisfy them? Thank you for inviting me. The Convention on Cluster Munitions was signed in Oslo, Norway on 4 December 2008. Up to now, 107 countries have signed this convention, 37 of which have ratified it. According to a relevant article of the convention, it takes force after 6 months elapsed from the 30th state ends ratification procedure. As you mentioned, it happened on 1st August 2010. As the mine victims, the rigid number in Azerbaijan is unknown, like in the whole world. But after our research, we support the number of mine victims in Azerbaijan is about 3,000. In 2003, for the first time in the territory of former Soviet Union, our organization implemented a project on needs assessment of mine victims. An inquiry of 45, a questionnaire of 45 questions were prepared and introduced them in frame of this project. As a result, it became clear that there are enough victims of mining problems and staged actions should be taken for the settlement of their problems. And now our main question. Why didn't the countries of South Caucasus, including Azerbaijan, join the Convention on Cluster Munitions? Every country has its own evidences. The Southern Caucasian countries didn't join a tough mine ban treaty either. Azerbaijan government's official position regarding mines and cluster munitions is that Azerbaijan territories are under occupation and the war may be resumed until the territories are not liberated. If this happens, the Azerbaijan army will have the only purpose of liberating its territories using all the ammunition in the arsenal. Basing on this, Azerbaijan government is unable to join these conventions yet. The same reason is cited by the Armenian government, which says Armenia is blockaded by Azerbaijan and Turkey. The borders are mined. If the borders are demined, Armenia may face danger. Therefore, Armenia uses mines for protection. Armenia's arguments are not supported by international organizations. It has not been possible to obtain information on cluster munitions in Iran. Turkey has problems regarding cluster munitions, as our Turkish colleagues say. However, Turkey is the only country to join mine ban treaty and fulfills its requirements. The issue regarding our northern neighbor, Russia, is a little complicated because Russia is one of the biggest producers of these munitions. Both mines and cluster munitions are used in the war against Chechnya. My next question is related with cluster munitions. Have these munitions been used in the conflicts erupted in South Caucasus, and what are the results? Unfortunately, these munitions were used in conflicts in South Caucasus. The international organizations' reports claim that Azerbaijan used cluster bombs against Syrian population during Karabakh conflict. Taking it into consideration, our organization conducted a little pilot project in Tavuz, Tevtir, and Fizuli regions in 2007. The project revealed that cluster munitions were rarely used in the territories of Azerbaijan during the fights between 1992 and 1994. RBK 250 and RBK 500 air bombs were used. Great firing systems and warships were used as well. But the question is that at the time, the arsenals of both Azerbaijan and Armenia contained only Soviet-produced ammunition. It's impossible to determine which side used these ammunition. Therefore, we mentioned it in our final report, and the international organizations accepted it. While conducting this research, we didn't aim to determine the victims for cluster munitions, but in the course of the work, we found and met with these sufferers. In the frame of this little project, we learned that 9 people were killed and 41 were wounded after use of these weapons. Unfortunately, it was revealed that there were women and children among the victims. Are there cluster munitions in these states of the region of any danger for Azerbaijan? I conducted a little research on the internet and found out that there was an explosion in the arsenal from a Soviet Union Defense Ministry in Saloglu area of Aksefaro region in Azerbaijan. The remainder of cluster munitions are still found there. Is this ammunition arsenal in the region dangerous for Azerbaijan? Azerbaijan is in the state of war with Armenia. Actually, the cluster munitions release many small bomblets to the opposite side. As a result, 5 to 8% of them remain unexploded after touching the ground, according to NATO standards. There is such saying that the army is fighting live, but those unexploded munitions pose damages to the civilians who return there. Moreover, these munitions create a psychological barrier to recovery of infrastructure. No organization, no company would like to launch business in that area where they know any kind of munitions exists. The situation is the same in southern Caucasus. Saloglu base was an original base for its capacity. It was the biggest base in South Caucasus, accounted for 1,000 weight of NATO during the Cold War. There was information at the time that Saloglu base could supply the troops in south wing of USSR for 3 months without interval in case war begins. There were all kinds of ammunition there, including cluster bombs. The Agency for Demining Areas with Official State Bodies informs that they have been working there for a long time in front of NATO program, and they have revealed about 100 cluster bombs. This information only concerns land operations. They are not conducting underground operations. If they reveal this kind of munitions in the underground shelter, there will be an official notification. As to other countries of South Caucasus, the international organizations report both Russia and Georgia largely used cluster munitions in the war of 2008. The civilians are still suffering there. Several states are rendering assistance for elimination of the remainders of those munitions. South Caucasus is a source for real and potential conflicts in the world. The cluster munitions used here are mainly Russian products. What can you say about the amount of the turnover of Russian munitions used in these territories? Frankly speaking, this is not information, precise official information regarding these munitions, but as you mentioned, the Southern Caucasus is like a barrel of powder. Besides, the process in the North Caucasus show that these munitions are used there too. Russia largely employed cluster bombs in both the first and second war with Chechnya. There are facts that those munitions were used against civilians in squares, bazaars, but there is no precise official information about turnover in South Caucasus. How long will it take to remove cluster munitions after the war between Azerbaijan and Armenia ends? How long can it be a social evil for civilians? I expressed this opinion in all meetings and again reiterate. As a result of successful operations by Azerbaijan army in January 1994, 30 villages of Fizuli, Agdam and Jarambi regions were liberated. Considering the return of local residents, the Azerbaijan Republic's Defense Ministry troops demined those areas to prevent suffering by civilians. There had been a number of explosions and a lot of sufferers by that time. Imagine that about 41,000 mines were removed in 1994 and 1996 from the territories that were under occupation just for 3 months. The occupation has been continuing for 20 years. Several fortifications have been built in accordance with the requirements of the military science. Landmines, anti-personnel mines are considered irreplaceable by the military because the Armenian army has no big resources to protect all frontier posts by human resources. That's why they largely used mines which are cheapest and most dedicated arm. The other issue is that neither Armenia nor Azerbaijan had regular defense units during their active battles in 1992 to 1994. These were battles at the level of self-defense battalions. Ammunition used during those battles were not deployed in accordance with the requirements of military science. Most of the persons who deployed those munitions were killed. The others don't already remember the place of munitions. Therefore, it will be a great problem for Azerbaijan after the territories are liberated. Azerbaijan should request assistance of the international community for settlement of this problem regarding financing, human resources and technical equipment. I think if the international organizations and financial sources join this work, Azerbaijan people could be freed from this evil within 12 to 15 years of comprehensive work. If we fail to do this, we'll have to settle the problem within our capacity and perhaps we'll face the fate of former Soviet Union. Though over 60 years have elapsed since the Second World War, the number of mine victims in Belarus, Ukraine is not lower than in Azerbaijan. Thank you for coming to our studio. Difficult question program was on the air. Thank you.